Welcome to Direct Approach, a bi-weekly podcast hosted by Wayne Moorehead, filled with timely insights, fresh perspectives, and actionable takeaways from your direct selling executive peers to help fuel the growth and evolution of your business. What does it take to keep direct selling relevant in a rapidly evolving market? In the latest episode of Direct Approach, Wayne Moorehead sits down with Susannah Schofield, OBE, to delve into strategies that drive innovation, elevate personalization, and embrace direct-to-consumer models for a competitive edge. Susannah shares her expertise on navigating change, reshaping perceptions, and creating meaningful connections that ensure long-term success in today's dynamic environment. But before we begin, we'd like to thank this episode's sponsor, Exego. Today, running a direct selling company can feel overwhelming, like juggling 1,000 things at once. What if there was a tool that could scale to handle the heavy lifting and help reduce operational costs at the same time? Exego is that tool. The Exego platform is a suite of software that automates and speeds up commissions, streamlines operations, improves reporting, and offers the flexibility companies crave. With Exego, clunky, rigid, in-house software becomes a modern and efficient platform, allowing businesses to focus on what matters most: growth and making world-changing products. Join the hundreds of other MLM companies who trust Exego to improve their tech stack and boost their bottom line. Visit exego.com to learn more. Now let's welcome your host, Wayne Moorehead, and his guest, Susannah Schofield, OBE.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of DSN's Direct Approach podcast. I am your host, Wayne Moorehead, and today's guest is joining us all the way from Portugal. She has been an incredible champion for the channel and has been working to evolve, elevate, and even expand what it means to be in direct selling. I'm excited to welcome the Director General for the DSA UK and Ireland, Susannah Schofield, OBE. Susannah, thank you so much for being here.
Oh, absolute pleasure, Wayne. Thank you very much for having me.
Absolutely. So I used a term or a designation at the end of your name that maybe many of us in the States aren't familiar with, but it is one of the UK's highest honors, and that's the Order of the British Empire. And do you mind sharing just a little bit about what that means and what that signifies?
Absolutely. I mean, as you say, I'm very humbled and very privileged. And it came as a surprise, if I'm honest, because you're nominated by somebody, and then obviously the government does a huge amount of due diligence to make sure that you are worthy of such a title. And then they give you an Order of the British Empire, which essentially I collected at the time from Prince Charles, but is now King Charles. So I got to go to Buckingham Palace with my children, and I said to them, suck it up and enjoy it while you can. We may never get back in here again. So no, it was a brilliant honour, and I got it. I was awarded it for services to women and young people in business. So I gave, and I still do give an awful lot of time to women who have been victims of domestic violence and struggle with their confidence to get back to the working place, and also with young impoverished kids who are in their teens and struggling to get jobs. So I work with them to make sure they put their CVs together properly and have the criteria and the business acumen to be able to go out and do well. So yeah, very humbled. It's lovely. It's actually there hanging on the wall. So you get to go and they give it to you, and then you have a lovely service, and it's a beautiful day. But no, very humbled. So so something you don't get every day.
No, that is incredible, and that work, all the work that you've been doing, is so important and so impactful. And so I'm glad that was recognized, and I know we're honored to have you on. And I can probably say you're the first individual that I've been able to interview that has been recognized with such an award, and probably the last that I'll talk to with that's received the OBE. But congratulations and thank you for all the incredible work that you do.
Thank you.
Well, I've been fortunate to meet you at a few DSA, DSU events over the years, and I've been so impressed and inspired with how you've been thinking about direct selling and all the work that you've been doing to move it forward on behalf of all of us. And I know that you and I share a belief that the future of direct selling, traditional direct selling, exists somewhere at the intersection of that traditional approach and a direct-to-consumer approach. And I know you've done a tremendous amount of work as it relates to strategy and positioning. And so I'm so excited to dig in and learn more about this today. And I know that as you came into that role, it would have been very easy for you just to kind of try to manage the status quo or look for some incremental advancements to really, move forward a little bit. But you really jumped in and developed a very disruptive and important strategy for the organization there, really focused on ensuring the relevance for the channel for the future with all the changes that are happening. And I know that as part of that disruptive change, you're a big advocate of proactive change. Can you talk a little bit about the importance of proactive change versus, other types of incremental change?
Absolutely. I mean, for me, I think there's two types of change. It's either proactive or reactive. And I think the advantage of being proactive is you get to control the outcome and the destiny. Whereas if you're reacting, you are literally dealing with what's being put in front of you. So I always think that things have to change, and not just for the sake of growth. But if we'd never moved forward, ultimately we'd all still be sitting around campfires and riding horses, wouldn't we? But then came in the wheel, and away we went for the industrial age. But I think for us as an industry, we can look at the likes of Blockbuster is used on a regular occurrence where, people can now stream. But even if you take Sky, that's still a huge organisation, they're having to revolutionise themselves so much. And I think for us, we either, evolution isn't enough now. We have to revolutionise. We have to just say we must embody how people want to buy now and how people want to shop. And I think that direct selling, we're in an amazingly unique position. The demands that people make about how they want to shop in retail, we absolutely identify to and can address those needs. But I think, yes, for us, we got to a stage in the UK where I looked across our members and how they were diversifying and really looking at doing things innovatively, and new companies coming into that market and thinking, we really, really need to shape ourselves as an industry to be able to help grow that and also offer the regulation that we do. I pride myself hugely in the fact that we run a very tight ship in the UK and Ireland. We have a very rigorous onboarding process where we work tirelessly to make sure the companies that join us as members go through a very heavy onboarding process to fit in with our codes of conduct and our standards. And I think because of that, the wider we can make that remit, almost the bigger the playing field for everybody else and the fairer the playing field. So we took the plunge. We definitely changed the way we do things, and so far so good. So we did it. We rebranded March, and I know we'll talk about that a bit later on. But yeah, it's so far so good that we I think we for me, I'd rather lead than follow.
Absolutely, it has been very, very impressive, and it has gone well far beyond a simple rebrand to really encompass an entire new strategy and a go forward for the channel, which really has gotten the attention and the admiration of all of us. I love the distinction that you made between being reactive and proactive. And there was so much change happening so quickly in the direct selling landscape that for the first little while, I think we were all being very reactive. We were trying to understand, where the go forward path was and what these shifts and dynamics were and how they were ultimately going to impact us long term. And so I agree that we need to be in a proactive mode to embrace all the incredible things that are happening that can really make us either relevant and, one of the leaders in this future economy, or irrelevant, unfortunately. And so can you talk a little bit about some of the dynamics that you were seeing that called for this proactive change, even outside of the UK and Ireland? What were some of the dynamics within direct selling that both kind of excited you and concerned you as well, where you knew change was necessary?
I think for me, the real opportunity for us stands with the next generation, and that those people coming into this industry need to understand it. And I think the danger is sometimes when you have such an amazing heritage, and I started off my career at Royal Mail, which is the UK postal system. So they've been delivering letters for over 500 years. And when I came in there, I started on the telephones, and then I worked my way up to being their commercial director. So looking after some 800 people and £3 billion worth of revenue. But I remember going onto the ground, and I always made it an absolute must to go at least once a month into the front line and talk to those people seeing our customers, because it's very easy in ivory towers to lose what's important on that front line. So I very much made a play to always go and talk to people. And the phrase I absolutely hated the most was, well, we've always done it like that. And I just think that kills business. And when I left Royal Mail, I went and did consultancy for Deloitte's and many other consultancy firms. And I always knew when you got to a third generation company, the company would be in trouble because dad set it up and loved it. son ran it or daughter ran it, and then by the time they'd handed it down to their child, they couldn't care. It was just the family business and the way we were going to do it. And that's when you had to come in and turn the organization upside down. And I think our heritage as a sector is incredible. But I think sadly we got caught up in but that's the way we've always done it. And the next generation coming up now with social media and the passions that they want and what the retail world is demanding, or what the consumer is demanding from the retail world, we absolutely have to change to go with that. I always say there's 4 prongs that are going to move us forward as well as we can. And I'll cover them off in more detail. But personalization. The retail world is crying out for personalization. It's that moment of I want to feel special. I want to feel needed. Tick, we do that in spades. We can give you one-to-one treatment. That's fantastic. Retailtainment, as I always call it. People want more retail entertainment. There's an amazing statistic that 81% of global consumers are willing to pay more for their products with an elevated shopping experience. Tick, we absolutely do that. Again, we can do one-to-one. We can host parties. We can do online makeup tutoring. Everything you want from that retailtainment sector, we do. Socially conscious shopping, that next generation, again, 80% of Gen Zs, Generation Zs, prefer brands that take a stand on social issues. Tick, we do that. Arbonne had vegan products before vegan was even a fad. We've moved so far ahead. We win more awards in the beauty of our members than any other industry does. Some of our members win the top echelons above some of the main high street brands. So we are socially there, but we don't tell enough people about it. And the last is the omni-channel for me. I think the more we can go out and talk to people through social media, through pop-up stores, through one-to-one, through different bits, that makes our business absolutely, or our sector absolutely cutting edge. But in coming round full circle, I think the danger is we've almost come to being, it's the way we've always done it. And we're not moving with the times and shouting about this amazing things that we can do and repositioning it so that the young understand it. And I always laugh with people that, I explain to my daughters when they're going out shopping, and I say, wouldn't it be great if someone came to your home, showed you how to use all of the makeup, and you got to try it all and test it all, and then you could order it? And both of them always look at me and go, but Mum, it's going to cost so much more. It just wouldn't work as a business model. And I think I really do need to explain in better language what I do or what we do. But now they get it. Now they absolutely understand. And both of them, I have no doubt, when they hit their right age and they can set themselves up, will have a direct selling business, because they completely understand how it works and how they want to do it. And I think for me, repositioning is just so vital. We have to do it. We have to do it. Otherwise, we're going to get left behind.
Absolutely. I love that you highlighted so many of the shifts and dynamics that we're seeing are those that play into our advantage, or things that we've been doing for more than 100 years that I feel the rest of the world is catching up to finally, these things that we've always known and practiced, but we might need to do them in slightly different ways. And we might need to educate the consumer on how, even though the world is shifting, these are really part of our value propositions. And I heard at DSU, you talked about this shift from transactional to relational, and that's something that we're definitely seeing, and its ability to kind of cut through all of this noise. Can you expand on that a little bit?
Well, for me, I think the industry's changed, but I think stripping it back even before that, I think, if you look at the next generation coming up, both the consumer and those that can be consultants, if you look at what they want from their roles, it's no desk job, tick, no 9 to 5, tick, no forced working place, tick, flexibility, tick, the ability to travel overseas, freedom, empowerment, but also, so much more importantly, they want training, mentoring, encouragement. And we do that in spades. So as you rightly say, we're absolutely there, building all of those notches and doing it. But, I've quoted 100 times over, and it's my thing, nothing cuts through the noise in social media and the day-to-day than someone you trust handing you a product and saying, try this. And I think our our industry does that in spades. And that's not transactional. That is me telling you, I think this would be great for you, but not just because I'm trying to sell it, but because I love the product myself. I use the product myself. And that genuine level of integrity is what the consumer is crying out for now. We can't be transactional. I can be transactional when I buy my ink printer or my, print ink for my printer. I don't care about that. But when I'm buying something that's important to me, which most of direct selling is selling, it's something that adds value to my life, and therefore I want a relationship with that. And we do that so well. We're just the best kept hidden secret, really, Wayne. We don't shout about ourselves enough. We really don't.
No, I agree. I think part of it, a big part of it really is an awareness issue. And I read a really interesting statistic. I think it was in a Gartner report a couple of weeks ago, just mentioning that now 71% of all purchases are happening through a peer recommendation. So we as consumers, we are joining opportunities or buying products, not based on what a company says or an institution says, but really those that are in kind of our circle of influence based on their recommendations. And I think that is so, yeah, go ahead.
I completely agree, Wayne, and I think where that stands for us, and where I think some of our members went out and they started having kind of like affiliates, influencers, as it were. So they wanted these big names to go out and endorse their products, but actually that's not what the consumer wants as a whole. The consumer wants that level of integrity. Don't tell me it's great because you're being paid. Tell me it's great because you use it, and tell me it's great because you care about me and what would be great for me. And I think the interesting thing is, it makes our business model better because we don't have to pay huge prices for influencers. We just have to have real advocates of our product. And I think, the one thing that's always amazed me about this industry and my board, when we get together for our quarterly meetings, everybody shares. They genuinely want to say, this is going well for us, that's going well for us, this is going well. Obviously, they have their corporate strategic secrets, but ultimately, I think we've brought it closer together. We have the biggest board we've ever had now. We have more meetings than we've ever had. And I think we've got to the stage where we are genuinely looking at the good for the good of the industry. We are challenging, we are rethinking, we are repositioning, and without the fear of, well, what if someone else comes in and they do it differently and we can't? It's just embracing that bigger picture. And I love that for the future of the industry. I really do.
I do as well. And I think that's been a hallmark of your leadership and strategy, is bringing more people into the fold, really expanding, opening up the aperture, not keeping it limited to a few individuals or a few companies or even a few sectors. And I'd love to get into that more in a couple minutes here. What were you seeing as far as technology, AI, social? What were some of the dynamics that were, again, exciting to you, but also concerning as it relates to the future of the channel?
Well, concerning is I might be dispensable soon, mightn't I? There might be a robot sat here saying everything far more correctly than I can. But I think at the moment, we've worked very closely with Dan Denman, who I know has spoken at the DSN, DSU events. And he's really, I think he has a lovely phrase that says, AI won't replace people, but it will replace people that don't use AI. And I think that's probably true. I think we have to move with the times. I look back at my days. I remember the 4th channel being launched and we had to rewind tapes. And, if you wanted to make a phone call, we had to buy a phone card, or just different world. But where I think it's stepped in so well is the ability to use it for translation. And I think that, as I said, for me, personalization is amazing. But if you can make some of that digitalized, so you record a message and then AI can put the individual's name in. So I can record saying, welcome, I hope you've enjoyed joining X company. AI can insert me saying Wayne, and we can make that absolutely feel special without me having to record every single message. And I think from a management and leadership perspective, that really allows you to have a one-to-one relationship so much more. And I think the training side as well. I always, when people say you join a member company to become a consultant purely for money, I think all of the research we do in the UK, it's not always about earning money. Sometimes it's about making friends. It's about having training. It's about building confidence to go out to the workplace. It's a whole myriad of things that come together to make this sector so special. And I think technology, apps, the ability to make the customer journey so much tidier, cleaner, faster, smarter, just plays into our future narrative. And I genuinely believe the more we can embrace technology to make the customer journey seamless, the better the industry will be.
Absolutely, and more personalized. Back to your point again, I recently just went through a tour at a company where the founder via AI was welcoming people in a dozen different languages. So it was really special to the brand partners there, and it's amazing how quickly that's evolving. So while many companies, when they go through a repositioning or an evolution or even a revolution, a lot of the times it's focused on changing products or compensation structure or the look and feel. But your challenge, I feel like, was even more difficult in many ways, changing mindsets, preconceived notions, even stigmas. Can you talk about the approach and how that's different in from a brand positioning standpoint when it's really more focused on perception?
Yeah, well, when I first came in, I think there was some the kind of, I don't want to say dark cloud because it makes it sound very negative, but we definitely kept ourselves, all of our members kept themselves quite insular. We didn't go out and talk to people because of the fear of bad press and media coverage. And I definitely stuck my head above the parapet. I believe this industry is incredible. I always say Avon enabled women to be able to sell goods before they had the right to vote. So we have been, we've got this incredible legacy. It's a leveler, this industry. Absolutely. It doesn't matter your color, your creed, your education. If you're willing to work hard, there is no glass ceiling. So for me to start with, before we did the rebrand, I think it was really important to go out and shout about the benefits of our industry. And don't get me wrong, Wayne, it's not always been easy. I've had some very, very tough interviews on both television and radio where people want to hate on the industry. And there's always something to come back. And where we started before we rebranded was with hundreds and hundreds of case studies. So it's very hard when someone says they don't allow you, you can't. Please just log on to the website and go and see for yourself, have a conversation with the hundreds of people that have had their lives changed by this industry. And yes, it's an effort-based business. You have to work hard. And yes, you have to pick a product that's right for you. And I always say to people, if you wouldn't buy the product yourself, don't try and sell it, because you won't be authentic and it won't be full of integrity. But ultimately, once we built that, we'd built the case studies, I felt we were in a very good position then to look at a wider remit of what we actually wanted to cover. And I think strategy can be as complex as you want it to. But in my simple brain, I always think you just need some cornerstones, really strong cornerstones to build your foundations on. And that's based on why, who, when, where, and how. So who do we need to sell to and why do our members want to be with us? Why is anybody going to join and what do they get out from us? When do we need to do it and how are we going to do it? And then we just really laid it all out with the help of members. And not every member agreed. I'll be honest, we had a vote and there was a moment where I thought we might not get the rebrand through. There were definitely some slightly more traditional of our members saying, are we sure we really want to open it up to people who do just sell direct consumer? Are we sure we want to really go out and challenge the government to make us more regulated? But we did, and I'm pleased to say it would have been a novel way to resign had it not gone well, I'll give you, but luckily it's gone very well. And I think all of our members are 100% behind this now. And we've already got, since the rebrand and we launched in the summer, we've got 3 new members, many, many more suppliers and loads more prospective members. So it really has opened the doors. And I think for us, that then enables us to have more of an income as an association. Obviously, we're not for profit. So it just means the more money we have in, the more good we can do for the industry and the more we can really put a spotlight on what needs to change.
Yeah, to your point, it has gone really well. And it was a bold move, popping up above the parapet. I remember earlier in my career, listening to a well-known executive in direct selling talk about the only good PR is no PR, and how we as a channel really did try to avoid any type of media for the fear that it could go negative. But you really kind of charged head on into that. And you mentioned some of the personal stories and kind of helping point and direct the media to that. What were some of the other tactics or strategies that you used to really help tell the true story and these incredible benefits from direct selling? Because it was a little, there is kind of a nosewind there, pushing against us sometimes in the media. How were you able to turn it from probably what started out as at least negative questions to now it's incredible all the press that you've been able to get over there. How were you able to make that shift with the media?
We did a couple of things really just to set, as I say, just to set those foundations and the cornerstones out. And one of them was some surveys, but we conducted them ourselves. But we didn't just go internally, we went externally. So we did it independently through national opinion polls. We went out and we asked consumers, do you buy these products? How would you like to buy? What would it look like? How often do you use them? And then we did very much the same internally to the consultants. How do you feel? Why do you join the direct selling company? What do you want out of it that you don't necessarily get now? And we did that quarterly for 2 years. And it was a lot. We got a lot of data and some of it wasn't worth it. Some of it wasn't great, but an awful lot of it gave us really high statistics. We were able to say that £833 a month is roughly what people earn, which is about an equivalent to just over $1,000, I think, with you guys. So we really had this ability of being able to actually hang real, true facts. And, the first time we did our consultant survey, we had over 6,000 people respond to it, which is phenomenal, absolutely amazing, because that really gives you statistically valid data to be able to go and do something with. We get information out like 42% take it up because they want to work from home, 40% because they're their own boss, 60% to be more flexible. We had some amazing statistics that enabled us to go out, but also it was the feeling. It's that, you have joined. Do you enjoy it? Do you work there? Have you recommended it to a friend? Do you know? And you get that goodwill feeling. And I think it's very hard to argue with. These are facts now. This isn't someone saying it doesn't work like that. And of course, there are people out there this doesn't work for. But, you can start a job and it doesn't work. There's always ways of doing it. And I think the more the companies have leveled themselves off and the more that they've got this direct conversation from their management right down to their consultants, I think we have a much clearer picture of what's really going on. And we've taken all of that and we've culminated it all together to give a fact sheet. And every time I do a press interview, it's accompanied with a following email. Here's the fact sheet. And those facts are backed up by independent bodies that justify this is what happens. So therefore, it's hard to say it's not right because it's really built on robust factual data that's statistically credible. And I think that gave us those cornerstones to start laying the foundations down when we were challenged.
Absolutely, especially working with the media, those qualitative or quantitative measurements are very important. But also back to our earlier point, something that we're so good at is the qualitative, those personal stories, millions of stories around the world of how direct selling has really changed and impacted lives. I think it's something that we definitely need to shine the spotlight on.
Are you ready to revolutionize the way your direct selling company accesses industry insights? Introducing the DSN Library Smart Search, an AI-powered tool that puts over 2,000 curated assets at your fingertips. From compensation trends to emerging markets, answers are just a click away. If you're already a DSN supporter, then you have access to Smart Search right now. If not, it's time to check out our updated program for 2025. Starting at just $1,000 per month, your entire company can get access to the channel's most comprehensive collection of education and insights available. Visit directsellingnews.com/supporter to see a demo of Smart Search in action and to learn how your company can become a supporter now. We also invite you to join us for the annual DSN Global Celebration and Spring DSU, March 25th through the 27th at the Irving Convention Center in Irving, Texas. From insights to action, this is the event that powers the future of direct selling. Visit dsnevents.com today for details.
So as we talked about or touched on earlier, an important element of your strategy was to really bring in other sectors and broaden the definition of direct selling, kind of a power in numbers. Can you share a little bit more about the importance and the impact on your strategy?
Completely. Well, I just always think, if you're one voice going into an empty room and shouting, you can't change anything. So for me, it was important to represent a sector. And I think the more we become mainstream, I believe the more we will be able to become mainstream. And, the very time I came, from my very start, I just said, we're just another channel to market. There's no dark myth behind this. There's no weird businesses going on. There's no closed doors. We are just another channel to market. And I think when you look at Nike, who started doing their direct-to-consumer model, it's direct selling. It's under that guise. And we look at so many companies now moving to a direct-to-consumer. And I think as long as they fit within our ethics, and I feel very strongly about our code of conduct and the way that we practice and the way that we do things for both the consultants and the consumer. But it's just a use of words. And, I come back to that, it's because we've always done it that way. But when you look outside and you actually look at what our industry does, it sells products direct to the consumer. It's just under another name now. But instead of trying to change that narrative to fit ours, I believe we have to change our narrative to fit theirs now, because then we become more accepted. So as just another channel to market, this makes life so much easier to go out. So we took our strapline on as the industry body for direct-to-consumer retail. And we quoted that ourselves. We went out, that's who we said we wanted to be, and we quoted it. And now every press release says the Direct Selling Association, the industry body for direct-to-consumer retail. And we now own that space. And we get to write articles about retail. And we partner with many, many other organisations now. So the British Retail Consortium, we work hard to make sure that when they produce white papers, we go out and we reflect it and we help support it. I go speak at Retail Week, at Retail Bulletin, on the stage, publicly talking about our industry being a way to sell to your clients or a way to sell through retail. We are just another route to market. And I think the more we step into being mainstream, the more opportunity comes to our sector and the more people start to understand it. So that really was how we first started opening the doors. And I think, don't get me wrong, it's been endless networking and endless promotion and going out. But now, when I went to Retail Week, not just before Christmas, and spoke on stage, and I had companies, huge companies, with global brand names coming up afterwards and saying, we had a conversation, like, we do this. So how do we get involved when you're taking your voice as a not-for-profit association to government to challenge the things we need to challenge too? How do we all get in one room and beat this drum louder? And I think that's so important. So the more voices we have in there, the louder the louder the sound, and the more we can get change for the good, for the positive. So it's been a period of time. The rebrand was only March, but leading up to that were a good couple of years of, as I say, laying those foundations down. But yeah, it's just it's going out and getting more people in and more people able to really embody what we want to do and the message we want to get out there.
How are you able to really connect with those other organizations or companies, the more traditional affiliates, more traditional direct to consumer? How are you able to connect with them and bring them in? And I'm curious how they responded to being collectively associated with this larger direct to consumer group.
I think to start with, there were some barriers. I think the press has helped. I think if we'd done this rebrand without the positive media and the positive news stories that we could share, I think it would have been harder. When we went to our members first off, and I said, right, we're going to go out, we're going to go all guns blazing to the press, and we're going to tell them how incredible we are. We're going to talk more about the awards we win for our products, the ethical, the sustainability, the money we give to charity as an industry. We're going to go out and we're going to tell them. And an awful lot of my members went, no, we're not. You can, we're not, and literally withdrew from it. But there were one or two braver ones, mostly the smaller startups, if I'm honest, at the beginning, but they came on the journey. We had some incredible case studies. Those case studies were published in our top leading newspapers, actually got into the print, big pictures of people with how you can earn more money and how you can improve your life and how you can do better, and how this route to market, route to sale, this mainstream retail industry was now coming back. And, gone are the days of Avon and Tupperware, and now the days are moving forward as to what's coming up. That then sort of gave us a groundswell. So now when I go and speak at Retail Week, I can put all of the amazing press behind me, and I can say, this is what people are saying about our industry. And if you need to hand your product to a customer, you need to join us and you need to come and look at this. And now we're getting that swill of people saying, actually, this has stood the test of time. It's not just bricks and clicks. It's that middle ground between having an actual retail store, having an online presence, but maybe having a honest integrity sales force that reaches out. And then I think if you put Gen Z on top of that, who, an enormous number of people are now, within that age bracket, they want authentic, they want honest, they want sustainable, they want all of these things wrapped up. And I think there's an awful lot of retailers out there thinking, how do we sell to this generation? It's up and coming, and these are our next customers. And if we stay where we are, essentially our business will die with our users. So we need to bring our age group down and get our products out there. And I think this, weirdly, something that has stood the test of time, is going to come full circle back to being the way that we speak direct to somebody, and we give that personalization and that retail entertainment and that omni-channel and all the responsibility that comes around with it. I think it's going to come in a full circle, and I think we're in a good place to do that. I think globally we are. I think we're in a good place. We should come together more, but yeah, we're in a good situation.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm so impressed at your ability and the team's ability to bring in all of those other organizations, not just other companies, but organizations like the advertising organizations that you reached out to, because I feel without that, the repositioning might have just been a messaging exercise, but you really turned it into a strategy by really bringing all of these groups and organizations under one tent, and then have kind of this collective voice. I think that was such an incredible part of the strategy. I'm curious, just as coming from a brand background and a brand geek, rebrands, refreshes, evolutions are some of the fun work. I'm curious, can you share a little bit about the process on where did you start? What were the key elements that you tackled?
Well, we did a lot of work around whether we should actually, from the pure brand side, should we actually rename ourselves? Should we be called something different? Should we be called the Direct to Consumer Association? Should we step away? But for me, I really wanted to keep the heritage, and the team and I mean, the team have been phenomenal through this. It's all well and good me sitting here saying I've done, I couldn't do this without the incredible team with me and behind, that we all work together. But I think there was a real moment of, do we rebrand? Do we look? But the Direct Selling Association is going to be 60 this year. And I think that's something to be incredibly proud of. And I felt in our 60th year, that wasn't the time to throw the baby out with the bathwater, as it was. It's so important for us actually to be able to work with that and to go through that and to follow on that legacy. And I think we should be proud of that legacy. I think we should genuinely be able to say we are an incredible industry that has withstood the test of time and will withstand further and go on longer. So it was very important. After a lot of discussion, we went out, we benchmarked with people, we had a look, and then we thought we wanted something dynamic. We didn't want to stray too far, but it was very important for us not to be DSA anymore. Because what is the DSA? But the Direct Selling Association explains in the title what we do. So as much as it's, typing it out is a little bit harder every time you put it in an email, we are now the Direct Selling Association. We're not shortening it. We have that name. We know what we do. We have the strapline underneath it. And as I say, lots of insight went into it. Stuart, our internal guy, he designed the logo for us, did it all. He gave us a couple of options, and we just loved the simplicity of the arrow, the bright colours that I think embody, who we want to be moving forward. We want to be bright, we want to be vivacious, we want to enjoy everything. So I think it's that real moment of it was a real team effort. We did it on a very, very tight budget, Wayne, a very tight budget. We did the website internally with our internal marketing team. We didn't use any agencies. We did our own research and went out and looked at it. So we didn't suddenly spend, tens of thousands of pounds. We did it on a very, very tiny budget. But I think we asked the right people the right questions and just kept pushing and pushing till we felt we'd got it right.
Yeah, well, the refresh is beautiful, and the repositioning again is super smart, super strategic. I know another part of the strategy was really embracing compliance and standards. And can you talk a little bit about the Social Selling Academy, the role that it plays, how it creates kind of a positive relationship with some of these outside, regulatory bodies that we work with throughout the channel?
Completely. So the Social Selling Academy really was born out of something called the compliance certificate to start with. So in my mind, we had some members who were struggling into concerned ground, I guess, with some of their consultants in the fact that they potentially were out there with closed Facebook user groups or closed groups that they would think, what if they say something that's crazy? What if they make claims that aren't substantiated or true? Where does the burden of responsibility lie, and is it on our members? So although every member that we have has a very rigorous onboarding process and their own compliance team, we thought that if we could set up an independent compliance certificate that every one of our members' consultants could come on and do, and then they get a certificate at the end, and it asks them all the basic questions about, can you say this? Can you do that? Do you have to be insured? What are your tax implications? Everything about running a business, but purely independently. And we launched this about 2.5 years ago, and it really was a phenomenal success. And not only because the consultants loved it and it made them feel that they could say, I've got a certificate, I'm qualified to be out there selling. It also enabled our members to have a barrier of security around them. So should someone go off, and go rogue, as they say, and make crazy claims, not only does the member company say we've trained them, there's also been an external training through us and they've got a certificate. So it really is on that individual, not on the company. So we felt that was a value add for our membership fee. And I'm always really conscious when times are hard and you need to spend money, you need to really add value to your member companies and not just willy-nilly hope that, that people are going to keep paying year in, year out for the odd newsletter and a seminar. It's not enough. It's not enough. So once the compliance certificate was up, we then got all of our codes of conduct leaders together, all of our legal compliance teams, and said, what else can we do? How else can we help you? And then there was this moment around, how do we do social selling safely? How do we go out to the media through social media as private consultants, but make sure that we don't make claims, say that we're not advertising, and do it within the correct. So that's when we formed our partnership with the ASA, which is the Advertising Standards Authority. And that was a real breakthrough because they're very strict about what you can and can't do, hashtag advert, hashtag sales promotion. So they helped us shape, and we did a training module. And then we work with them so that should one of our consultants do something wrong, the ASA comes to us first, or we can police it before it gets into deep trouble. So if our members choose to ignore the warning, then obviously the ASA will step in, but we actually act as an interim. But once we had those two things, the training, we thought, really, actually, we need to put this into something. So we built a complete app and we don't, even if you're not a member company, but you're a consultant out there working, you can still come on, because I believe regulation is important for everybody. So it's great for our members, but actually, if you're a small startup and you haven't yet joined the Direct Selling Association, you can still go on and access this app and use it to learn and to do, because I think the more we can put good practice in the industry, the better it is for the industry. I don't want to see fly-by-night, get-rich-quick schemes go wrong, because that just taints us. So this is open to all, completely inclusive. You go on, you log in, and then you can do loads of training modules at your own time, bite-sized videos to watch, bite-sized chunks, talking about regulation, compliance. It's not always the sexiest of topics, Wayne, I'll be honest with you, but there is some fun in there. There's always a quiz at the end. You get points, and what do points make? Points make prizes. So the more points you get, the more you get to go on, and the more it unleashes different modules as you go through. So it's gone down brilliantly. We have thousands of registered users, I'm delighted to say. We add content. Stuart and Lisa manage this internally for us. So again, built internally by our own internal team, all done internally by us. So we really do keep our budgets tight. We keep working really hard as a team together to deliver for our members without spending silly money. And it's great. It's been really well received. We keep it regularly updated, and we keep adding to it and adding to it. And now, the Social Selling Academy is genuinely a little UK and Ireland academy that for anybody in the industry.
Yeah, it is such a powerful program and element of your offering there to provide that safety for the company, as well as to external partners, the credibility, the integrity, and the positive perception that it brings, showing that we are trying to do it right. We are self-policing, and that we understand that all a rising tide is going to rise all ships. And so I think that's an incredible part of the program. I'm curious, with the rebrand and repositioning, what type of pushback, or did you get any pushback, or what were some of the big challenges in rolling it out?
Initially, I think actually it was making our members feel secure that we weren't suddenly going to undermine the industry, and that by opening the doors, we weren't suddenly going to let people in that didn't belong or didn't have the right cultural fit. And I think that was probably the biggest concern going forward, and anyone who's ever heard me speak will say that, my girls have three little words, and it's sadly not I love you, it's honesty, integrity, and loyalty. And if you stop either one of my children and say, what are the three little words? They will give you honesty, integrity, and loyalty. And I think if you live your life with honesty, you're full of integrity, and you're always loyal, you can rest your head anywhere and get a good night's sleep, because that's what it should be. So I think we were able to go out to the members and genuinely share that we've done enough research to know this is good, but we won't let companies in that aren't honest, full of integrity, and are going to be loyal to the sector. It's no good bringing in massive websites that sell cheap discounts and don't deliver on the product and have endless complaints coming through. That's not what our sector's about. Our sector is about delivering direct to the consumer a very good high level quality product for the right amount of money in the right time scale with the right wraparound of care and attention, not only protecting the consultants but also the consumer as well. So I think for us, the first pushback was people being fearful that we might open the door and get a floodgate in of companies that weren't relevant. And once I think we got over that, if I'm honest, we just owned the space. And I think a lot of it is about being confident and just going out and saying, this is what we do now. And you can join if you reach our criteria. And if you choose not to, you choose not to. But this is who we are. This is what we do. And if I were you, I'd rather be on the inside sitting at the table having a voice than behind the closed door not knowing what's going on. And I think the majority of people, it's been a very soft sell. We went out in March. We didn't really even send anything out to anybody in September. We got some media coverage. We took input. We had a couple of proactive customers contact us and say, I've seen Susannah talk, or we've listened to this, or we've read this article. Can you tell us some more? But actually, we didn't really start doing a full-blown push until September, just to make sure that we had all of our I's dotted and our T's crossed and everything in the right place. So an interesting time, as I say, it's not often internal is more fearful, isn't it, of what change can bring. But I think as a whole, it's been accepted very well and across the board. And so many companies have said to us, gosh, you're like the best hidden secret. If only we'd known we could have done this. So yeah, that's the moment when you know you've done the right thing.
Yeah, absolutely. We are kind of the best hidden secret and definitely need to change the hidden part of that. Can you share a little more on the results, media mentions, perceptions, positive outcomes from all this? Can you touch a little bit more on all this incredible work that you and your team did and how it's helped to move the ball forward?
Yeah, I mean, the media coverage has been incredible. As I say, I think we had over figures off the top of my head. I can't remember when, but we've had hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people reach out, hundreds of thousands of views. We've had, media coverage in what our Times, our Telegraph, our top line broadsheets. We probably get coverage 10 times a year in there, and always quoting, join a member company that's part of the Direct Selling Association. These are the reasons why. Here's the website. So that little, we call it our soundbite bar, where all the things we want to get out, we put out with every press release we do. So it's been received well. 3 years ago, would I have ever been allowed to give a speech on Retail Week? Absolutely not. There is no way we would have been seen as a channel to market. No way. So just those elements of being invited into that arena and invited into that field has allowed us to really push forward and really take a stake in that. So media-wise, we definitely led with that. If I were going to go back and do it again, I would do it exactly the same. But sometimes you look back and you think we should have done it differently.
Sure.
I think we wanted to go sooner than we did, but we just kept saying, let's get the foundations right. Let's get public opinion with us. Let's get the swell of positivity. Let's get proper, and I went round, I did media interviews with every tabloid, with every press, with every retail bulletin, and also a really big focus on industry news. It's all well and good getting our members great coverage in the tabloids or in the broadsheets or online, but actually the retail internal industry supplements are just as important, because they're our future members reading that. They're the people that look at our sector and say, actually, maybe we should set a branch up doing that, or maybe we should look at joining. So that whole kind of that network of internal stuff was really, really important to do. So yeah, it's been a tick in the box as we go along all the way through, and it doesn't stop now. Like, sadly, this is where the hard work really begins now, isn't it? It'd be nice to put our up and go, oh, rebrand, thank heavens that's out the way. But now actually we have to live and breathe it, and we have to take it forward, and we have to really, really make sure that we've got this spot on and keep delivering for our members. As I say, we've got our 60th this year. We've got a massive, massive celebration conference in May, on the 1st of May, which I'm delighted about. We'll have a bigger seminar and a bigger conference than we've ever had before, and with some really great high street names coming into that fold. It's perfect timing. It is perfect timing.
Yeah, the results have been absolutely incredible. Congratulations on that. And there's a lot for all of us to learn, both as individual organizations and the channel as a whole. And I'm curious, what are some of the things that companies or other direct selling organizations can do to really embrace some of the changes and strategies that you've implemented? How do we come together more to do this, not just in one region or area of the world, but really collectively for all of us?
Yeah, I actually think it's a great shame we don't come together more. And I'm delighted that the DSN and the DSU are supporting an association summit in Amsterdam in June. And I just think that's going to be incredible, because the bigger the voice together, the more we can change this. And I regularly speak to Canada and to Australia and to member companies within Europe. But I think the more that the direct selling associations can come together, and the more that we can create this. I don't want to use the word club, but this collective voice that promotes our industry, the better it is for all of our member companies. And if we are brave enough to put our head above the parapet to start with, it's much easier sometimes to talk at a global level and be able to say, we as an industry do this, and I can represent all of my member companies by saying that. And then when it comes back, I can back it up with facts, and I can talk about it as an industry, rather than having to be a member company individually, being potentially not attacked, but having to deal with some bad press. It's easier if we as an association go out and create the warm, fuzzy feeling that we are about, and be able to be, strategic, industry leading, give some good hard facts out there. So the more we can come together, I think the stronger the future of this industry is. And I think, the summit in June is going to be fantastic. I'm very much looking forward to being part of that, and I'm helping shape that event. And I just think that, I hope enough people will come. I hope we'll get a really good crowd. And I think once we've done it once and we've got people around the table at that level, I think it will just grow from there, because we can support each other, and there's so much we can learn from each other, and the other ways that things can work and how we can shape the industry. I think the bigger the voice, then the louder the drum.
Absolutely, and I agree. I think the DSU event in EU in June is going to be huge. I know it's always one of the most important and hottest topics there at the DSU in Dallas. That'll be happening again this spring as well. So I know that there'll be a lot of conversations continuing, a lot of opportunity for all of us to come together. So I'm curious. Last couple of questions. You've been so generous with your time. As you look out at direct selling over the next 5 years, where do you see it going, and what excites you the most?
I think what excites me the most is the next generation, and I really do. I think we tick so many boxes to make this a really good environment for them to thrive in. And as much as it's a risk, and I think so many people see it as a risk, I think if we embrace, we look, we really understand how that generation wants to work, and we employ the right people to interface with them, and we stop doing things that way because it's the way it's always been done, and we move a little bit more into being maybe a little bit more entrepreneurial, a little bit more forward thinking. I think that's really what excites me. I think the next 5 years sees an industry boom. And I really do. I really believe the consumer wants to, as I mentioned earlier, personalization, it's us. Retailtainment, it's us. All of those things make us the perfect situation and make us based in the perfect situation. So I think for us, or as a sector, I think the opportunity is 100% around going out and talking about it. And that really excites me. I genuinely believe in 5 years' time. I'd like to be back on here with you in 5 years, Wayne. Might not look quite as, youthful.
My beard will be completely white at that point. My beard will be completely
5 years time,
white.
saying we're going to be 65, or not we, I'm slightly younger than that. The association is going to be 65, sure. And here's what we've achieved in that time. And I think, had we not been bold enough to make this change, my fear we wouldn't have made 65. I think we might have been swept up in one of those moments of it was an archaic way of selling, and now we've moved on. But actually, if we move with the times and we embrace that direct to consumer, then it makes us relevant moving forward more so than ever. And I genuinely believe that the business model, if it's just slightly repositioned, slightly differently with just different terminology, simpler plans to earn money, simpler commission schemes, all of those sorts of things can be very easily tweaked and done to really give that next generation an amazing earning opportunity. And I think for me, I'm very excited to be part of it. I still plan on being here for the 65th, so within the sector, and then let's see where it goes from there.
Absolutely. I love that you mentioned that it's not always about these huge grand changes or huge shifts. Sometimes it's little things. It's messaging, it's positioning, it's connecting with outside organizations or other similar organizations. I think there's so much for all of us to learn from this process that you went through. And I love that you talked about owning the space. I absolutely think this is the time for us to own the space that really we've been occupying for a long time. We just need to help make sure that everybody knows that this is the space that we've been owning and occupying. And I look forward to the next 5 years as well. I think there's so many incredible dynamics that are in our favor. We just need to take it and embrace it. And Susannah, I want to thank you so much for being here today. I know it's much later for you there, but thank you for making the time for us.
It's been a pleasure, Wayne, a pleasure. And I will see you in Dallas in March, if not before.
I will see you in Dallas in March. Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in. Please take a moment to subscribe and give a 5-star rating and review to help Direct Approach continue to provide more candid insights and interviews for direct selling corporate executives. And don't forget to register for our upcoming spring events at dsnevents.com. Secure your spot now. Thank you for listening and supporting DSN and the Direct Approach podcast.